That's right. Only 5 large cap mutual funds have comfortably bet Nifty 500 over the past 3, 4, and 5 years. Hi, I'm Pattu from FinCal, and in this video, I would like to discuss some of the results from my equity mutual fund consistency performance screener that was released a few days ago. You can download the link in the description box. So this is how the screener looks like. This is just an Excel file with macro buttons. So the first job is to choose. You can choose the fund category. You can select large cap from this, and if you can choose from here, and you can see here that the number of funds is 36 in this. So these are I have actually removed the Nifty and the Sensex funds from this. The 36 funds include 2 index funds, Nifty Next 50 index funds, one from ICICI, one from IDBI. So we're going to start screening this. So let's do the screening. So okay, before we do that, I want to show you the columns. So we are going to look at the returns over every possible period from December, let's say 17th, that when the calculator was made, to January 1st, 2003. So that's like, look at the first line here. So that's like 727 possible 3-year return periods for the index. And the index is Nifty 100 Total Returns Index, and the fund, which is Sundaram Select Focus. So out of this, the fund has outperformed the index only 77 times. So the consistency score is 77 by 727. That's 11%. It's terrible, isn't it? And we also have what is known as a downside protection consistency score. So for every one of those 3-year periods, we look at the monthly returns and we ask, when the index monthly return was negative, how negative was the fund monthly return? Was it more negative or less negative? That is, when the index fell by 10%, did the fund fall by 8% or did it fall by 12%? That's more. So that's called downside protection. If it fell less than the index, the downside is protected. And how consistently was the downside protected? So although the return performance is only rolling return outperformance consistency was only 11% for this fund, the downside protection consistency was 100%, and so on. So this is for 3 years, the green columns. The violet columns are for 4 years, and then we have the brown columns for 5 years. So we're going to screen these. So what we're going to do is to first demand at least 70% or above downside protection consistency for 5 years. When we do that, the number of funds reduced to 33. Then we demand also 70% or more for 4 years. It reduces to, sorry, it is now, the actual count is now 15. Sorry, the actual count is now 15. So you can see that just demanding 4-year and 5-year downside protection consistency of 70% or above, which is quite small but justified, drops the number of funds from 36 to 15. That's I find it baffling that many funds are not able to actively manage and reduce risk for the investor. You will also require downside protection consistency over 70% and above for 3 years. I'm clicking that button as well, and it now stops at 14. There are now 14 funds. Downside protection alone is not enough. We want return also. So we want a rolling return outperformance of 70% or above over 5 years. When we do that, look at that. It just becomes 6 funds. Only 6 funds. And we also require rolling return outperformance over 4 years, 70% or above over 4 years. It still stays at 6 funds. And then when we demand it over 3 years, 70% or above, and then we just have these 5 funds. Just 5 funds have 70% or above rolling return outperformance for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Just 5 funds have downside protection consistency of 70% or above for 3 years, 5 years, 4 years, and 5 years. So just these 5 funds have both the return outperformance consistency and downside protection consistency for 3, 4, and 5 years. That's terrible. Just 5 funds. Now, some people may say there are many people on YouTube who believe that risk management is not important. They'll just invest in equity over the long term. They'll get returns. So let's find out. So what we will do is let's clear all the filters go back here, select large cap, then come back here, and then okay, so we'll now have the number of we'll have the count. So when without any additional filters, the number of funds is 36. So that's 36. One more. So let's find out. So what we will do is no downside protection. We'll just demand over 5 years the rolling return outperformance. The return outperformance should be 70% or above. And if you do that, look at that, just 20 funds. Also for 5 years, it stays at 20. Also for 3 years, it becomes 17. So just 17 funds. These 17 funds, if you ignore downside protection, only these 17 out of 34 actively managed funds, that's 50%. Only 50% of the funds are able to consistently beat the Nifty 100 in terms of return. That's only 50%. If you consider risk also, it drops to just 5. This is just atrocious. So that is the reason why I think it's time for investors to either you shift to index funds, at least in the large cap segment, shift to index funds, or you shift to aggressive hybrid funds or balanced hybrid funds and use it as a core portfolio. Then you can add Nifty Next 50 as a satellite fund in your portfolio. That's one way to do it. Or if you don't want index funds, stick to aggressive hybrid funds or balanced advantage funds. That's good enough. You are guaranteed of downside protection, at least with respect to Nifty 100 in those hybrid funds, instead of using a large cap fund and worrying whether it will outperform the Nifty 100 or not. So that's the reason I had that angry emoji. It's terrible. I mean, these active funds are charging us a lot of fees, and they're not performing well enough. So you can do many more such screenings. You can see, you can select different kinds of categories here. You can choose different kinds of benchmarks here, and build your own screens and select your own funds. You can download the screener in the link in the description box. So I will catch you in another video. That's all I wanted to say about large cap funds. So decide on your large cap strategy in 2019. Let me know what it is in the comments. I'll catch you in another video. Bye bye.